Well, good morning. It's Tuesday, the 4th of April, 2017. And it's been quite a while since I've walked the property because, quite honestly, it's been a bit of a construction zone around here. And it's an overcast gray morning, but the contrast between the gray and the colors that we have with so many of the blooms is just I had to come out and shoot some video. So if you've seen this before, that's our house right here in Broadway, North Carolina. And the people that lived here before us were really into they're into agriculture, horticulture, and they planted this. We call it Narnia because way back there in the middle of the woods is a street lamp. I mean, it's in the middle of the grove. Who does that? But I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. All these blooms. We take no credit for any of this. What we want to do is, before the blooms completely fall away, is take note of what colors the different bushes are, so we can propagate them and know exactly what to expect when those grow. This, of course, is the greenhouse. We pretty much finished it last fall, but it took until mid-February of this year before we got the propane tank installed. That's a 330-gallon tank. We decided to go with a series of standardized plots. That's what we're calling them. These beds, these plots are 12 feet wide, 72 feet long. They're all the same, so all the ground cloth will be cut the same, all the irrigation hose, all that stuff. And we've got a hoop structure we're putting in here and one at the other end, and those will get shade cloth over them as we roll into summer. But on the property right now, we've got a total of 15 of these plots that we've shaped, and we have ground fabric, whether it's the porous ground cloth or the non-porous black plastic, but we've got ground cover on all but 2 of the beds now. So we finally have time working in our favor to suppress any of the weeds. Right now the greenhouse is a bit of a disaster area. We just had the electricians come in about 6 weeks ago, run all this conduit, and they did a really nice job. We've got 9 8-foot tandem lights all the way down. It operates on 3 different switches. Got the thermostat all rigged up, all that stuff. So and there's a 142,000 BTU heater. This plywood contraption is our brooder, and we've got about 80 birds in here. A mix of the Dorkings, which we're running as meat birds, and barred rocks. Excuse me. Which we're running as a dual-purpose flock for our own use. The Dorkings are intended to be marketed as meat birds, and this is it's a standard brooder setup here. I've posted a video on this before. These chicken waters have been absolutely amazing. That's a 5-gallon bucket. I attached an adapter to it, and these guys go through about 5 gallons of water. It takes about 5 or 6 days for them to do it. Again, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see, other than a bit of a mess as we're finally putting the pieces together after several months of construction. So right here we've got 4 more of those 12-foot by 72-foot plots. We've got 4 of those here, and we've got 4 right here. And then looking across over here with the posts and the wires, that's our tall spindle planting system for our apple trees. Started off with about 139 apple trees in here. We got hit by fire blight really hard last year, and we've got 10 trees that are marked to pay real close attention to. Make sure there's no cankers on the trunk. If we confirm that there are, those trees have to come out, and as those trees come out, we'll replace them with varieties of apple trees that are resistant to fire blight. This is the world's most resilient elderberry tree. We ran this thing over so many times, abused it, went into the ground at the same time as 6 or 7 others, and by some miracle, this one actually has survived. So we're going to grow it and propagate it, because anything that can take that much abuse deserves to breed. This is our kitchen garden over here. These are all things that we overwintered. We started the seedlings for everything over here the second week of October. We overwintered it. We put frost fabric over those EMT pipes, and it did really well. Yeah, we started harvesting some lettuce, got some spinach in there, some kale. We've got garlic here that we planted the cloves the first week of December. Those are all hardneck varieties, and those should be ready for harvesting mid to late May. The big shiny thing is our walk-in cooler. We still need to attach the evaporator and condenser to it, but the panels are up, and it actually looks pretty good in there. That's 8 feet by 11 feet. The dimensions and the height of the walls is 10 feet. And our carport, the ceiling recess is another foot or so, so there's plenty of space to get up there on your belly and do what you need to do. These are our high blueberry bushes. And we had such a mild winter that they never went fully dormant, so I never pruned them. And I pruned them very heavily last year, so it really cut back on the production. Normally I'm cutting them back to about 5 feet, and over summer they'll grow up to around 12 feet or so, and we'll be actually picking blueberries from the top of a step ladder. Looking at these, they're already at 10, 11 feet, and I may give them a bit of a lollipop prune just to take them back down to 8 or 9 feet. I don't think anyone needs to be picking blueberries 16 feet off the ground. Yeah, another look at the tall spindle orchard. Ran a little experiment of trying to do raspberries down the middle of these apple trees, and for what we give up and the ability to move equipment through here to take care of the apple trees, the raspberries don't give us a good enough return. So I expect here probably this year, maybe next year, we'll transplant the raspberries and open these aisles back up for other uses. But you see the apple trees running down. We got drip irrigation suspended on the bottom wire. This is a cover crop of Austrian peas. Planted those the second week of October, 1 week before the hurricane blew through, and a tale of two beds. So I've got the nice BCS 853, and I shaped this bed with the rotary plow, and then I hit it with the power harrow for final shaping and prep, and you can see how lush this bed is. Walk over here. And this bed I hit only with the power harrow. I didn't use the rotary plow to flip the soil and really take the pains to prep the soil like I did where we just looked. And the germination was much less. You know, you take your pick. So that BCS has been a wonderful piece of kit. And now we come back out here to what we've affectionately called the barnyard, and we've got 7 more of these standardized beds, all 12 feet by 72 feet, 12 feet by 72 feet. We just added organic composted cow manure to these beds this past weekend, and the weather has been kicking our ass this year. We finally got enough rain to shape the beds and work the soil. This is where I wanted to be 6 weeks ago, but up until about 4 days ago, we'd had 5 inches of rain for the whole year. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the most resilient blackberry bush known to man. This is an Arapaho. That's been there for 3 years, chickens scratching all around it. This is the year that I think we're finally going to get a decent harvest of our blackberries. And what I'm showing you now is what we call the front 40. This field is about 330 feet long. I've got 2 full rows of blackberries, that's them that we're looking at straight across. I've got 1.5 rows like it in blueberries. Got 3 trellis wires set up for muscadines. We initially planted 49 muscadines. Over the 3 years they've been in the ground, we've lost probably 50% of those vines. So this is the year that we're going to see what comes back really well from dormancy and propagate the snot out of them and get a vine growing on every upright that we've got. Also in here we've got, and I'm not going to walk the whole thing, but we've got a mix of cherry trees, mulberry trees, persimmons, apple trees, chestnuts, and hazelnuts. And we're at the point now where it's time to get in here with a flail mower, cut some things down. But yeah, I had a few minutes before work. I just wanted to come out here, show you what things look like. Oh, and we're reworking the paddocks for the cows, for the livestock. Now that we've decided that the 12-foot by 72-foot standardized garden plot is where it's at for us anyway, we're reworking the paddocks. So the paddocks are just slightly larger than that, 80 feet by 56 feet. And we've got room for 8 paddocks of that shape. I'm sorry. Yeah, 8 paddocks of that shape. So the far end of that is 4 of those standardized plots. So that's a total of 12 30-inch beds growing through there. I should have said that at the outset. Each of these 12-foot plots has 3 rows that are each 30 inches across, 12 inches between rows, 15 inches between the outside row and the edge of the plot. And the idea is to have, out of the 8 plots, to have 1 or 2 plots that we crop every year. And so every 4 years we rotate a crop through a planting, and then there's 3 years that they're in grass and they're getting pooped and peed on as the cows restore the fertility to the ground. And that's our little livestock barn. That's our shop. Oh, one last thing to show you. Our chickens in the brooder I just showed you, they've got about 1 more week before we're going to put them out. And we've got a mobile chicken coop with an open floor that we're going to put them in. And that's this guy. And for all of you chicken tractor purists, I know what you're going to tell me. That's too big to be a chicken tractor. Yes, it is. That's why I'm calling it a movable chicken coop. We're going to go ahead and get the electrified wire so that we can move this into one of the paddocks, keep it out there for 4 or 5 days, throw the electric mesh around the thing, and let the birds do kind of a quasi free range. The other thing we can do with this thing, because it's narrow enough, is we can run it down between the apple trees and move it around the different plots, so we can use the chickens to scratch up the remnants of a harvest. But that's just a poly tarp on the top. We've got 1/2 inch by 1 inch hardware cloth on the bottom, and we've got the 1 inch hexagonal chicken mesh at the top. We're going to take the chicken waters that are in the brooder, set up the same thing with a 5-gallon bucket, get a couple of rain gutters for the feed, and life will be great for these guys. So just one more walk around. This is what we call our corner coop. This was our very first enclosure for the chickens 6 years ago when we first got into backyard chickens. And now this becomes a place that when a hen goes broody, without our involvement at all, the ladies will often come out here and lay their eggs, and it becomes kind of a nursery for the juveniles, because about 4 weeks after the eggs hatch, mama bird starts running with the roosters again. We still need to have a protected spot for the chicks, and this is it. I've got to tell you about this twine. It's worked wonderfully. These chicks have been in here. I got 6 that have been in here for coming up on 5 weeks, and we haven't lost a one to hawks the entire time they've been out here. By contrast, we've had it before where we've had 11 chicks in here and we've gotten wiped out all the way down to 2, just the hawks out here picking them off one by one. So the twine works, the orange flag works, just I guess it's a little too much for a hawk to figure out how it's going to run through. So that's what the homestead's looking like here this 4th day of April 2017. Thanks for watching.